and welcome to my knitting vlog. My name is Annika and I'm a knitwear designer from Finland. I'm not sure if I put this beanie on the right way, hopefully. I can't see myself in the camera. Anyway, it's been a long while since my latest vlog. I have plenty of reasons why I did that, but none really, what's the word for it? Worth mentioning, probably. Anyway, so about the beanie I'm wearing, it's called Sands of Time. The pattern is not out yet. Hopefully I get to do it for next week, and then there will be a testing call or test knit call on my Instagram. But yeah, a few words about that still, because I'm knitting a second one. Actually, this one was the first one, but I didn't like the first crown decreases that I did, so I unraveled it. I'm knitting it in Terrerum Natura, Ulysses and Beanies. Just a second. These are different colors, but anyway, and I'm eating my hair. It's so, oh, sorry about that. What's the word for it? Dry, the air. So it's everything is fuzzy. Is that the word? Frizzy? Something like that. So, Beanies is super kid mohair. Is it super kid mohair? Yes. Silk and wool blend, and it has 210 meters. And Ulysses is just merino. Sport weight 185 meters per 50 grams. This is 25 grams. So I'm combining these two. And the beanie eats up almost an entire skein of Beanies and approximately 1.5 skeins, well, less than a half of Ulysses. What else can I say about it? It's simple cables, mostly stockinette in the round, which means you get to knit plenty. Of course, some decreasing in cabling. It has a tubular cast-on edge, a long 1x1 rib, and some grafting at the top. I don't know how I put this on, so I'm probably not taking it off at the moment. And yeah, it has this long crown. Yeah, I think that's the word for it. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it looks nice, but then again, it's a trend thing. I've seen people in Helsinki wearing hats that have a very long crown kind of coming up like this, and that seems strange to me. But that's not why I did this. I just wanted to try if I actually would like a design with a long, well, let's call it crown, because I can't think of another word. Long thingy. So that's just air atop of my head. It's warm. I like how the Ulysses and Beanies feels, and I think Beanies is really up there with my favorite silk mohairs. Although it has wool in it, it feels completely different than sadness garn tin silk mohair. Maybe it's because of the super kid mohair. It's really soft. And because it's 210 meters, it also feels different than, for example, the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, which I also like. So it's kind of up there in the top two, sharing space with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. My real all-time love of silk mohair is Isayer silk mohair. That's really soft, and I like their color palettes as well. But this is a really good option. It's not a paid advertisement, by the way. I just really like Terrerum Natura's yarns, and Ulysses is really one of my all-time favorite yarns. It's just heaven. I'll talk about these colors a bit later and tell you what I'm planning to do with these, because I just bought these. The package arrived 2 days ago. Yeah, on the 2nd day of January. So yeah, Happy New Year, by the way. Yeah, I actually already started the decreases for the crown, which might seem strange, but I wanted to hide them in the cable as much as possible, so I think I managed to do that. But anyway, more about this. I'm knitting these on 3.5 millimeter needles, and I use these old stitch markers from, I think they are from Colorwork, and they are plastic. And these are Chaogu needles. Chaogu? How you pronounce them? And I tend to knit everything on 80 centimeter long cables, but of course you do you. So about beanies, let's see what's going on. I have a few designs up for test knits, and let's start with this one. It's actually a set, and this is the beanie of the set. It's called Nordic wintering set, and once again, surprise surprise, it's knit up in Ulysses, but different colorways. Well, actually not different, because it does have this Goyland, which is this gray. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it means seagull in French. Then it has, this is Dore, no idea how to pronounce it, and Cel, the same as in the other beanie. Fusain, which is this dark gray emerald. Was that all? Yeah, I think I mentioned all of them. So it has 5 colors. The test knit is open. I will put a link down below if you want to knit the beanie. It comes in 3 sizes and 2 length options. This is the shorter one, which is really a, I think it's a watch cap style. Probably that's how it's called. Yeah, it's just pretty simple color work, double folded brim with a 2x2 rib. And I was really surprised some years ago when I was looking for a tubular cast on 2x2 tutorial. There is no such thing. I mean, there is no such thing as tubular cast on 2x2. You cast on 1x1 and then you move around stitches, and that's how you get to 2x2. But anyway, live and learn, live and learn. I actually did weave in all the ends on the wrong side. And one of my test knitters for another Colorwork beanie said that maybe I should mention in the pattern that you're not supposed to cut the yarn like every time you switch colors. I'm like, okay. I never thought about cutting the yarn unless the rows are really long and you have to carry it around for, I don't know, 20 to 50 rounds, then yes. But yeah, so I put that in the pattern. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it's sort of basic colorwork knitting technique. You do not cut your yarns, you carry them around as much as you can. But I do understand that some beginners might not realize that you can do that, and they would cut the yarn and end up with, I don't know, tons of yarn ends to weave in. So yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. Yeah, so this is the beanie, and then I knitted matching mittens. Oh, and it's full of hair. Also from Ulysses, and I think these are the most fun things that I've designed in a very long time. Why? They have liners. I like the color work. I found this in a very old magazine, and I did some adjustment to it, so I didn't just copy it as it is. And this is the fun part. Well, this just looks like a tube. But woohoo! It's a mitten with liners. And as you can see, I used all kinds of leftovers from Ulysses. The pattern actually tells you to knit it in one color, but I think this is a perfect way to use up all the scrap yarns you like, especially if you're not, if you don't want to show it to, how to put it, if you don't want to show the liners, because you could kind of use the, it's a bit tedious, but you can turn the mittens around and just, you could use the other side if you don't want the color work, which of course it doesn't make sense to me because I love color work, but it might make sense to you. So it works this way as well. Of course you need a bit of adjustment because this is a tiny bit smaller, I mean the liners, than the actual color work, but it works. So I'll have to stick the liners in, but it looks like this. It comes in 2 sizes because of the Colorwork pattern. It's a women's 7. I'm not sure actually if the glove sizes are the same for the entire world, or are they also different, like with the shoe sizes. That's really annoying. But women's medium, whatever that means, and men's large. You can check out the link below for the test knit sign up to see the circumference and the length. Of course, the length is, you can adjust it also, the length of the thumb, it's adjustable. And yeah, some crazy color work, but I didn't stop there. I wanted also because I had yarn, of course, and because I liked the colorwork pattern. And I just read from somewhere that colorwork is actually trending again this year. Let's fix the thumbs. So I'm right on trend, unintentionally. I mean, I've been knitting colorwork forever and designing things in colorwork forever. So yeah, awesome. Finally, I'm on trend. But yeah, then I made an infinity cowl. And it doesn't look like an infinity cowl yet because I didn't weave in the ends, I mean the 2 ends of the cowl properly. But I have the yarn end here, and now I need to unravel it and then do it properly so that it's an actual infinity cowl. I don't put this on because the microphone doesn't like it, but this is so much fun to wear, even as it is. I wore it once when we visited the Collie National Park in October. I had some photos, some very quick ones taken over there, and a few videos. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this. And it's something like 120 something centimeters long. I think it has 4 or 5 pattern repeats, total pattern repeats. It's a very long pattern repeat. I think it's 80 rounds, something like that. But like I said, it's not that difficult color work. You have plain, I mean, is plain the right word? Rows with just the same colors occasionally, and just very, very simple color work with no long floats. And even if there would be long floats, since this is an infinity cowl and you knit the color work in the round, you don't need to catch your floats. So there's that. Yeah, about carrying the color work or the colors. So this is a place where I would cut my yarn, the one in the yellow, and then I would rejoin it here. So yeah, it makes sense to occasionally not carry it around all the time. And as you can see, it's not entirely the same pattern for the cowl and for the mittens, because I, for some reason, did this part here in sail and fusain instead of sail and Goland something. But it doesn't really matter. I really hope to get to wear this soon, because finally the weather is cold. December was a very weird month in Finland. So yes, stay tuned for the weather update. No, just a few words. Now it's minus 15 degrees Celsius, but September was gray, almost no sun. I think at some point it was in the news that we had like 6 minutes of sunshine, and it wasn't cold at all. So it was like plus 4 to 5 degrees, which is, well, not cool. But I got to swim a lot because it wasn't that cold. So now I haven't been swimming since the last time I went was on Christmas Day. On the 25th I went to the Baltic Sea, and it was again warm. It was probably plus 5 outside, and all the ice from the previous day, because I also went on Christmas Eve, all the ice from the sea has melted. Yeah, it was fun. The previous day I had to use a shovel to get through the ice. Well, it wasn't, it was probably 1 centimeter thick, but still. So that was an adventure. And yeah, like I said, I really look forward to use this. Of course, all these eat up a lot of yarn, and thankfully Dererum Natura kindly offered minus 15% of their Ulysses for my test knitters. So if you sign up, you get to use that if you want. Of course, you can use any yarn in your stash that you think would work for this. Ulysses is a somewhat strange yarn. It's so bouncy, it grows, well, quite a lot might be a stretch, but somewhat after blocking. And I think if you count the yarn requirements for all these three, it's a very generous estimation. Did you know that usually knitting patterns add like 10% of yarn just to be on the safe side, so that you don't run out of it? But yeah, like I said, for the mitten liners, you can use anything you like, and I think it would be awesome. I wanted to use only Ulysses, but I think it would be awesome to use maybe 2 strands of silk mohair if you want that extra warmth layer. So yeah, these are my Nordic wintering things set. Yeah, so you can sign up for either the beanie, the mitten and the cowl, or the cowl and the mitten, or the beanie and the mitten. You can choose whatever you want, or not sign up, that's also fine. But yes, so Colorwork wise, last year was probably about sock designing mostly. I did some sweaters, but not that much, and I hope that this year I will get into sweater designing, because of course I haven't done that so much, so I'm kind of terrified of grading. But so far my 3 sweaters, I think 3, 4 maybe, can't remember, all has worked out fine. Yeah, but talking about socks, so the things that you probably haven't seen is the luminant socks. This I designed in collaboration with Laurel Knits, who is a Finnish yarn dyer, and I used her yarn, the sock yarn, and the color Nord, which is the blue, and Common Sense for this peachy white with speckles. It looks more complicated probably than it is. I think the only place where you have long floats is in this Colorwork pattern. But since I love winter, I wanted to sort of knit an ode to winter, and these are the luminant socks that came out. It has an anatomical toe, French heel, and the gusset. The creases are hidden at the bottom. You have the seam at the back and in the bottom here. I have only one sock because the other half is with Laura. So if you see her somewhere around in Finland on their other yarn festivals, then check out the socks. Yeah, but what should I say about this? It only comes in one size. It's women's medium 38 to 39. If you knit it with a slightly looser gauge, you get a larger sock, and tighter gauge, you get a smaller sock, which the patterns actually instructs you how to do that. I know that, for example, with Laura's way of knitting, she knits very tightly. She would probably get a size 36 out of this pattern, because yeah, gauge matters. Talking about Laura and socks, I was really surprised, and this I've shown you before, but it's difficult to say what people like or to predict what people like of what I'm designing. Some designers might be better at predicting and, I don't know, checking trends and following them and then designing accordingly, but I don't tend to do that much. It's just like, for me, it's, oh, that's great, I think I want to do something with that, and maybe, you know, I'll test if this idea would work or that idea would work, and okay, let's look at my wardrobe, is there something that I would need? So I design based on that and based on what I like, and hopefully in that case you also like it. And the poppy socks were definitely one of those cases that I wanted to create something. I saw this colorway. It's called City Girl from Laurel Knits again. And I remembered, well, almost instantly, my childhood back in rural Transylvania. So yeah, and the poppies and the wheat field, also cornflowers. And I wanted to somehow honor that memory. And I know these don't really look like poppies, but as close as you can get so that the colorwork chart isn't overwhelming. And I put some very simple other colorwork just to freshen it up. And this is, what's the word for it? Embroidered? No, not embroidered. I sew the black dots to the center on afterwards. You can of course do 3 color work if you wish, but that's just, I think it's too tedious, but some did that and worked out fine. So what I wanted to say about these socks is that this was a hit last year, and thank you for that. And it still continues to be a hit. Maybe it's the color, maybe it's the design. It is simple color work. It has a short row heel and again anatomical toes. So the socks are different a bit. It's not visible really. And what else? Some people only knit like one flower pattern and then did the rest of the sock in one color and did just shorties like this, and I think they would look nice for summer. And maybe I'll knit a second pair with only, you know, the one pattern repeat here for shorties. That will look nice with some sneakers, but it's not needed yet. Anyhow, it's what did I say? City Girl and Laurel Knits sock yarn, Fields of Gold, and Autumn Confetti, maybe the white one, and the black one is just some random sock yarn that I found in my stash. It has a 1x1 twisted rib, and that's about it. Yeah, so thank you for purchasing this pattern. It really made me happy that I managed to knit something and design something that you really, really liked. Thanks again. And then more socks. Here's another thing that you really, really liked, which is kind of strange because I didn't think much. It's like I said that, well, I never know what people like and what they don't like and which pattern would, you know, take over the world and which wouldn't. But I think my design philosophy is trying to knit something or design something classic and timeless still, which is not too difficult. And I think I also managed with these socks. These are the North Star socks that came out in December, and for some reason the photos of these socks when I'm sitting in my kitchen chair just, you know, took off on Instagram, which is weird. But you never know, like I said. And these are knitted in Arvetta. I probably, well, let's see if I remember the colorways. Comes in 2 sizes. This is the larger one with 72 stitches, and it comes in a smaller size. I think it's 64 stitches. Simple color work, mostly. Really simple color work. Only 2 colors per row. The star pattern has a, well, not too many places where there are long floats, which is like, I mean, come on, you have only 5 stitches until you change again to the next color. So you either grab that float or just leave it as it is and you'll be fine. It has a peasant heel, and the pattern actually has, what are they called? Instructions for tiny gussets on the sides. This one doesn't have any. My feet don't really need it. These fit just fine. Again, an anatomic toe. And about the colors, slate. The beige one, yeah, I know it's beige, is marzipan, and this dark yellow is mustard. Yep. Well, you can find everything, all the info about these on my pattern page on Ravelry. So this has been a surprise hit of the end of last year. I'm also, again, thank you for buying my patterns. And yeah, I mean, color-wise, they kind of are in the same color family. I made another pair for my mom, which is in bright pink, white, and a lighter yellow. That's also fun, but that's not nearly as traditional looking as these ones. So yeah, I've already knitted a matching beanie, sort of. More about that later, and there will be a sweater hopefully as well. So another sock. Then, well, actually that's the third one. One more sock and I'll talk about something else then. Finally, I managed to put the transition socks up to test knit, and the pattern is coming next week. These were called geranium socks because this was geranium red from Arvetta, and again it's marzipan from Arvetta. Also come in with anatomical toes. I think it has 3 sizes at least. A peasant heel with gussets in the instructions. This doesn't have one, just like the North Star socks. I don't need it. Very simple color work, and I need to finalize the pattern and probably remove the second chart because you can change color dominance just by holding your yarns differently, which one of my test knitter pointed out to me kindly. So thank you for that. I really wasn't thinking about it, but you can actually see here because I made the mistake in the color dominance. I held the yarn differently, but for photos that should be fine. I'm not gonna knit another one. Maybe I'll knit another one for my partner at some point because he needs some more wool socks. Yeah, that's the last of the socks that I have with me. Let's talk a bit more about beanies. If you follow me before on YouTube, you've seen this probably last year, January. And I really have no idea why on earth I put up, calling out for test knitters or finalizing patterns. It's like, I'm really good, like probably many people, at starting things and then I continue working on them, but the final adjustments, I kind of tend to stop before that, and I haven't been able to improve my habits much yet. But yeah, so it's a struggle sometimes to finalize patterns, which is kind of weird because they might just need, just proofreading or something equally small thing. So yeah, this is the Scandi beanie. And now it has been test knitted and the pattern is also coming out next week. I think this also has 3 sizes at least. It has a tubular cast on, 1x1 ribbing, very simple Scandinavian looking stranded color work, no long floats. It's knitted in Knitting for Olive, merino and soft silk mohair. I can't remember the colorways. I think that, well, the yellow one is Quince from both. Of that I'm sure of. I'm not sure if the gray one, the dark gray one, is Thundercloud. And if this is the old colorway Putty, probably it is. They discontinued that, but something similar is Morning Haze. And yeah, this is the design from my Scandi socks that I put into a hat. It's very simple, very lovely, tiny little beanie with more of a watch cap style. Some of my test knitters added height to the crown, which made it more into looking like this, and I think one of them is actually putting on, well, let's see if I can put this on. Sorry about my hair, it's probably not looking very nice. Let's see if I can find the end. Where are my floats? Over there. So I don't know how this looks, and I don't know if the ribbing is put on correctly, hopefully. So it's really a fitted beanie. That's what I was trying to say. Like, there's not much air here at the crown. And I do like this style more. Can't say why. Maybe that's what I'm used to wearing. So let's see how it goes with the Sands of Time beanie. And yeah. Surprisingly, about the Scandi socks, they were also a hit, which probably is because people like simple color work, and they also come in many sizes, I think. But yeah, all my patterns are on Ravelry that I'm talking about, well, mostly, unless I tell you otherwise. Then, because I had some of the quints left, actually it was nice to wear that Sands of Time beanie. Maybe I'll stick it on again. It's cold inside. It's plus 19 degrees, even with the central heating. So yeah, I can use all the wool stuff that I knit. That's nice. Even hats. So the mohair is itching my nose. I don't always do only color work. I like, as you can see, cables and lace. Mostly cables actually, but I also like lace sometimes. So I knit a beanie with cables and lace. And it's called, let's put it this way maybe, the Eliza beanie. It's named after my mom, actually. My mom isn't called Eliza. Her name is Elizabeth. But Eliza is probably a short, how do you say it? It's short for Elizabeth, maybe. Very simple cables knitted in Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair and merino. Again in the colorway quince. I think it uses only one ball per each. This comes only in one size, but you can adjust the length because the pattern repeat is something like, I can't remember, 15 stitches. So the next one would be very, very large size, and the smaller one would be very small. And the most fun part about this design is that the crown, the crease, I don't know if you can see it, it forms sort of a flower, a very tiny one. It has tiny bubbles, and yeah, like I said, simple cables. I hope to put out the test knit call for this in February, but we'll see how it goes. It's the same, this bubble pattern, almost as on my Diamonds and Rust sweater that I also haven't graded yet. But with the making the bubbles just tinier. I didn't want them to stick out too much. And I think this is a great beanie for spring. Probably it would keep you warm also in this sweater in this weather. But I would go for a thicker one for minus 15 degrees. Yeah, anything else? I'm trying not to touch the microphone when I'm turning, so hopefully I managed that. Yes, I wanted to talk about yarn acquisitions. Well, I haven't bought that much yarn lately, but I did buy something because few things. Julia Cameron said in, what's the book called in English? Can't remember. In one of her books, The Artist Way, actually, yeah, that's what it's called. That if you say your ideas out loud, then you will probably not do them because you already get the gratification just by saying them out loud. But let's see how this goes. I'm gonna do it anyway. Shocking. I want to knit a cowl for the Sands of Time beanie. I'm not sure yet what kind of cowl, but I ordered some beanies from Dererum Natura in the colorway Goiland. I think this is still the same colorway, yep. To match this Ulysses Goiland that I had in my stash for a few years probably. Yep. I have approximately 3 bows and some, so I'll have to do a calculation how long would this last and what kind of neck do I want, I mean how high. I hate cowls that go only like this high. You would need that thickness also around your chin. At least you would need that thickness here in Finland, so I'll have to see if I have enough yarn, hopefully. I bought 3 of these. Again, lovely, lovely yarn. And then, because I realized I would need more cardigans, I'm planning to knit a Sands of Time cardigan in yarn from only Dererum Natura, which is again Ulysses and Berenice, and these are the colorways Fig. So yeah, that's just Fig. It's a, I don't know what the camera shows you, but it's a very lovely looking, luxurious, dark lilac something. I don't know at all how the cables would show with this, but I'm pretty sure that I will get to wear that cardigan tons. So let's see how that goes. I haven't graded that either. I haven't wrote up the pattern, so there's plenty of work to do. Those are my yarn acquisitions for now. There's still a package from Knitting for Olive coming. I ordered something from their Christmas sale, which is actually probably in the same colorway. It's just dark and a bit of light. But yeah, more about that once I get the package. Yeah, so future plans. Knit, design, go out and enjoy the sunlight once, or finally we're having some. That's about it. Call for test knitters more frequently. Don't wait a year. Yeah, and I've been thinking about, I don't know if I still want to continue the more controversial topics over here on YouTube. Maybe. We'll see how that goes. I've gotten mixed feedback about that. Some people really like that I talk about things that others or most people don't mention, but then on the other hand, it's like, it seems the trend is people don't want to really listen to anything that can be interpreted as negative, although it's neutral or just observations about life. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll just focus on knitting and designing. There's plenty to do with that as well. Yeah, so if you're still here and watching, thank you, and hopefully see you soon. Bye for now.